Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Munsiana compound, nestled in lovely Yorktown, Indiana. I'm Mike Lingenfelter, your host, Randy Gardner. Today, the All Small Show. Randy, what do you got for the Munchkins?
We're going to go ahead and get started with the past week's highlights. First of all, Ron Color played this last Saturday in Newcastle. Ended up winning the Newcastle invite. I didn't know you were there. How was it?
I thought they played very well. Ron Colley's an incredibly balanced team. I thought they were very well set. Great libero play. Bailey Snell's as good a player as I've seen thus far this season. Dominant front row, back row. They're a good team. They deserve to be ranked where they are, and they rolled through Newcastle.
Yeah. Also this past weekend, Yorktown and Delta headed up to Delta for their tournament. They both went undefeated. They didn't match up against each other. They just kind of picked who they played to finish up the day. They both went 4-0.
Well, both very well coached teams, local powerhouses in Delaware County, both young. Both these teams are going to get better this year and the years coming, but two great teams starting to really find their range.
A couple of games of the weeks last week, we had Carmel versus Brebeuf, which Carmel won in straight sets.
Carmel's solid. You know, Brebeuf is a very good team. They kind of jumped into our top 10 last week. They're a very solid team. They're a team that played great volleyball at the end of last season. Carmel just a little too much still, and still just a little too much Carly Scott.
I agree. And also Westdale over Cowan, the 1A matchup that we talked about.
Well, the Civil War. This is one of those games where, as you said, you were in attendance and the crowds were after each other. This is kind of old school Delaware County stuff, you know, where you bring in the extra security just because there may be more action in the stands than there is in the game. But Westdale's still just a little too much. I think Cowan has been a great surprise to me this year. Pancho Alvarez doing a great job with his team, but Westdale still just a little too much power at certain spots of the floor.
Yeah, I agree. This past week we went with the Player of the Week, Haley Ferris out of Tri-Central. She had 63 digs in a 5-gamer,
Wow,
4 aces and 4 kills.
63 digs is wow. Wow, there's some construction sites today that aren't going to have that much digging going on. 63 digs. Somebody has a, you know, they probably use 5 to 6 different statisticians there, just count toes and fingers. But 63 digs. Congratulations, Haley Ferris. That's a monster night. Didn't come up with a win, but well, that's something to talk about. Congrats.
Yeah. And next on the list is Gear Munsiana's top 3, which is kind of the 1A show we're talking about.
Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Really in the land of Munchkins. The small schools never get the love they deserve. First state championship I was ever involved in, which was a wonderful memory in 2002. It was with the 1A school. So I still have a little love in my heart for the Oompa Loompas of the world. You know, and I think they all deserve due credit because there's some great volleyball being played out there. Number 1 in the top 3, number 3 in the top 3, Lafayette Central Catholic, always in the hunt. Always a state contender, always very physical, very gifted team. They'll play it till the very end. My number 2, I go with Bar Reeve. Steve Simonson's summer camp sweetheart. Every year he seems to coach these guys at some summer camp somewhere. All they did was walk in to Worthing Arena last year and dominate. 13-2 right now, putting on a show again, and I have no reason to think that they're going to leave anywhere early. My number 1 in the top 3 1As, I called them early, is my favorite to go back to the state championships and represent Delaware County. The Fighting Biff Wilsons of Westdale High School, 14-1, tremendous start to the season. You've got some games coming up. They're going to really tell you who they are and what they're about. But this team, if they can get everything going chemistry-wise, could be as good as any 1A school in the state.
Yeah. Next on the list, top 3 players of 1A. Really kind of the stat leaders overall. Number 1, we put down Mara Cox from Edinburgh. She has 242 kills.
You know, I don't care what level you're playing at, 242 kills at this stage of the season. That's a workhorse. She's getting an awful lot of balls. Mara, make sure you put some ice on that sucker.
Number 2, we had Megan Homenberger from, she had 335 digs, leads the state also.
Megan Homburger at 335. you know, that goes back to where we talked about Haley Ferris. It's, you know, defense is defense and getting in the way of the ball and getting hit. I'd like to see Hamburger go toe-to-toe with Cox. I think that those guys are, one's bombing away and the other's getting blown up. But congrats to Megan Hamburger. That's a tremendous half-season stat, Mark.
And number 3, Haley Ferris, we just talked about, 334 digs, second in the state, averaging about 8.5 digs a set.
I'm in the Haley Ferris fan club. You know, at 334, I tell you what, I'm going to get on my statistician if I'm Haley Ferris. She's one dig behind Hamburger after 63. I tell you what, those two are going to go toe-to-toe all year long. I'm anxious to hopefully get out and see those guys play. Cox and Hamburger are seniors. Ferris only a junior. Huge numbers for some 1A players, and congrats to all of you.
3 dark horses for the 1A. Number 1, we put the team we've been talking about earlier in the show, Lafayette Catholic.
Well, every year I hear that Lafayette Central Catholic is rebuilding. I think that's hogwash. Those guys are reloading every year. They're in the hunt year after year after year. And somebody had said earlier this season that they're under the radar. I don't know how they can be under the radar. Like I said, you know, about as under the radar as Channing Tatum is. These guys are the real deal.
Yeah, they've been kind of in that 3 to 6 range all year in the 1A. So number 2,
Hauser 11-0. You got to give love to undefeated. Undefeated is where it's at. They take down Jennings County and Edinburgh, big schools in their world. You know, congrats, Hauser. 11-0, keep it rolling. I love undefeated.
and number 3. What surprises me, they've only lost 2 sets on the year.
Covington, 10-0, losing just 2 sets. What the heck are you guys doing out there? You guys starting to really lose your game a little bit. 2 sets. I hope that they just pick up their level of play and limit people just to 3 and out from here on out. Congratulations to those 3 schools, and they're dark horses. They're in the hunt. You know, I do believe Westdale, Bar Reeve are the creme de la creme of 1A, but I will tell you, you can throw the Lafayette Central Catholics, the Hausers, the Covingtons, Fort Wayne Blackhawk. Those guys can all have a shot. That's the beauty of 1A. You know, whoever just gets this baby rolling is going to get it going.
There's about 7 or 8 teams with just 1 loss in the year also.
Oh yeah, that's good luck, and we wanted to show a little love to the Oompa Loompas of the world. You know, that is great volleyball. There are times when I sit back and watched, and really enjoyed that as much as any. A couple of years ago in the state championship, I thought the 1A game was as good as any games that were played that day.
Yeah.
So good, congrats, and continued good luck to everybody mentioned in
This
1A.
week's games of the week, we'll start with Carmel versus Westfield. It is at Westfield on Monday night. Who do you got?
I think he does this just to put me in a tough spot. Carmel, Carly Scott, one of my favorite all-time players. She'll tell you that she is my favorite all-time player. I've got to be careful just in case Lauren Gillis is watching. Westfield, Stacy Bernard, one of my all-time favorite people. I go Carmel. I go Carmel over Westfield. Westfield's still a little beat up, and Carmel still has had their number the last couple of years. Carmel wins that game.
Yeah, I think it'll be better this year than it's been the last couple of years. And when they get healthy at Westfield, I think they got a shot. And that'll be a great sectional championship coming up. Mississinawa, 13-1 versus Alexander, which is 13-2 on Tuesday night.
Wow. The battling Nelsons going against the Mighty Millers. I tell you what, I'm going to throw out some love for Mississinawa. About it before every game, I get a text from Lori Elson, who's a big follower of the show. I got to show him some love. I'm going to go Mississinawa on the road, taking down Alexandria in a good battle.
I'm going to take the Miller sisters. I'm going to see if they can do it at their place.
Oh, both great players. That's going to be a fun match.
Yeah. The other game we got, Westfield, 14-1 versus Westdale 14-1 versus Delta 11-1 on Thursday night.
Wow.
At Delta.
Wow. Westdale right now playing as good a volleyball as anybody in the county. Delta is the only team in the county playing better than them to date. This would be a massive upset since the schools lie about 8 minutes from one another, and there's always a little angst. Biff Wilson teaches at Delta but takes his coaching prowess to Westdale. So I'm sure he's stirring stuff up this week there. I'm going to go with, Westell went into Wapahani earlier this year and lost in a tough match. And sometimes playing against those bigger schools is a little bit much for those guys early on. I'm going to go Delta. I'm going to go Delta wins this, and I'm going to go Delta in 3 sets.
Yeah, and Audrey Wooden's been playing very well.
Oh,
She just
great
scores
player.
all the time. And then also they got Campbell that scores in the middle of the court, Cameron Campbell. And Kelsey Rosewood, pretty good little setter.
Plus, Audrey Wooden is one of those people. We're getting a lot of comments from a lot of folks out there in YouTube land. Audrey Wooden wondering why her team is not getting the love they deserve. And, this is a good way to get some, taking down a great Westell team.
Yeah. Courtside top 10. We're going to go ahead and start off with number 10. Speaking of it.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to hold off on number 10 right away. Yorktown and Fort Wayne Carroll, I've got to give a little love to, because when we put this thing together every week, we try to look who's playing and who's not. And those two teams are playing great volleyball and I think are right on the cusp. They probably need Audrey Wooden calling in and complaining to get in the top 10, because our number 10, Delta High School. Delta's done, since an early season setback to Newcastle, all they've done is win. And winning is good. Winning is good.
Number 9.
Floyd Central. The Fighting Bart Palace had only one setback last week, losing to a very good Louisville Sacred Heart squad. They're still trying to get some things squared away, ball handling wise. If they do, like I said, they're as well a set team as there is in the state of Indiana. They'll be right where they need to be.
And they got that middle. If she comes back, she'll get healthy and they'll be all right.
Yep.
Number 8.
Cart Memorial stays in the top 10. Little test from Concord, went 5 and squeaked it out. 15-13, a little too close, Cats. You may want to take care of business a little quicker, but I'm keeping them up there. I like them.
Number 7.
Columbus East. All year long, all I've done is tout their praises. I love them. I think that I love their energy. I love their coaching. They've lost once this season to Cathedral. They're a team that as they get into the season and start to play some people, we'll get a feel for who they are. But who they are right now is our number 7.
And I remember Faith talking about how young they were and
Yeah.
very inexperienced at this point, so they'll keep getting better. Number 6.
Avon. Like I said, those guys are still. I'm not taking them out of any list. I think that as well a coached team as there is in the state, and you've got 2 pins that if they're on, they're taking down anybody. And they're as good as any team in the state of Indiana with those 2 pins, and those 2 pins aren't going anywhere soon.
Yeah, in the top 5, really not a lot of movement just because they've all been winning. Number 5.
Yeah, first time this year. We've. Congrats to you guys out there. I'm sure coaches are excited about the roller coaster they're not on this week. All year long I've watched as the Kestersons and the Carmels of the world, all of these coaches, every coach, whether it be Rich Coleman, Gene Kesterson, Terry Perica, whoever. I've watched you guys all year long. Put your hands up and really enjoy the ride as the roller coaster is climbing uphill. And then I've watched all of you grab onto those bars and scream as we're flying downhill. No consistency at all early on, or a lot of parity. But for the first week, our top 5 all won. My number 5 is just as it was last week, Carmel High School, convincing victory over Brebeuf. And like I said, too many good players not to be where they're at.
Number 4.
Center Grove. They take care of the ball, baby. They're beating college teams in the state. They're physical, they're well coached, they're hungry, but you got to take it. You got to pass the rock, guys.
I agree. Number 3.
Roncalli. I really enjoyed watching them. First chance I got a chance to really see them personal or live. I love the little bro. The setter does some really dynamic things. And like I said earlier on, Bailey Schnell is a real deal.
Yeah, hits as good out of the back row. She does the front row.
Real deal.
Number 2.
Providence. I said early on, I love these guys. And Coach Perica done a great job. Maybe the best fan base I've ever seen in my life. We played them a couple years ago. Their fans were out of control. Their parents were more out of control than the kids, which was enjoyable. But this Providence group is going nowhere. And it's going to be on the heels of the best team in the state. Not the best team in 3A or 2A. Yeah. The best team in the state of Indiana throughout this year.
And I remember those days with the short shorts, the afros, the dads.
Great afro
before the,
wigs, great afro
before the
wigs.
game. And the number one.
I don't know if they sport afro wigs, but Cathedral is starting to find their groove. You know, they've got an incredible coaching staff. Coach Mary Ording now on that staff is adding a little bit of glee to that group. But I will tell you, too talented. You know, when you got two middle blockers that are both committed D1s, you got a right side committed D1. You got left sides that are going to be committed D1. You got two DSs at least. There are three DSs that are committed D1. That's an awful lot of Division I talent. This team started my season as number one. Had a couple of hiccups, but right now, courtside, number one team. The Irish keeping pace with my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who blitzed Purdue this week. A little beat up. Got a bye week next week, but you know who doesn't? Courtside. We'll be back next week.
See you then.